They said, "Why, you planted millions of trees, didn't you?" I said, "But I'm not a tree planter." So they asked me, "What do you do?" So I said, "I make people flower." If people flower within themselves. The idea that we need to protect this planet itself is a convoluted idea because it is not because of us that the planet is there, it is because of the planet we are there. My engagement with rivers and forests of southern India started very early for me. When I was 8, 9 years of age, if I got enough money to buy food for 3 to 4 days, I just managed this and disappeared into the jungles by myself. Well, it was a big concern for those who bore me, but
But they liked it or?
I just lived in the jungles and when I was there, I did not experience this as some kind of nature or natural beauty. I just saw it as a life larger than myself. And when I was 17, I floated down Kaveri river for 163 kilometers for 13 days, eating off the river, living off the river, just on 4 truck tubes and a few bamboos. And the river is a life beyond you and me. People like you and me come and go, but these rivers have been flowing for millions of years and they must flow forever. But such a mighty life, we've brought it down to its knees today. The rivers that I saw at that time, 50 years ago, and the rivers that I see today are just half of what they used to be. They say average depletion is around 44%, but many rivers are well below half, and many of them which were perennial for millions of years have become seasonal rivers. This year, Kaveri did not touch the ocean for 3.5 months. It dried up 170 kilometers inland. The entire length of Kaveri in Tamil Nadu, between these two states, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, there is a big war for water. It's going on for the last 25 years. But the entire length of the river is only 430 kilometers. But it dried up 170 kilometers inland. And the sad part is when we did this painting competition across the country in over 160,000 schools, many children, when we asked them to paint a river, they just painted sand. This is the experience of the people.
And why is that? Why are they going so dry? Is agriculture? Why is it happening?
See, in India, only 4% of the river water is glacial or ice-fed. Rest is all forest-fed. Forest-fed essentially means we have rains. Unlike in Europe, we have rains for only on an average of 40 to 45 days across the country, which is our monsoon. This 45 days of precipitation, we are supposed to hold it in the land for 365 days and let it go in the river slowly. If this has to happen, substantial vegetation has to be there. There is a serious removal of vegetation, not only in the form of forests, but also in the farmlands there used to be vegetation. For example, in the Ganga basin, which amounts to 25% of India's geography and 33% of India's agricultural produce, in the last 50 years we have removed 94% of the green cover, 94%. This has happened mainly because I know this well because 45 years ago I was into farming and at that time when the new movement came of green revolution where we started using fertilizers for the first time, chemical fertilizers, fertilizer companies openly advised every farmer to remove all the trees because fertilizer gets absorbed by the aggressive root system of the trees and it will not produce yield for the crops. So, across the country in the last 35–40 years, a huge depletion of green cover happened. That is the main reason why waters have receded. Another thing is there is a serious exploitation of groundwater, which is an inevitable consequence of not having enough water in the rivers.
In your video you said something like, people believe that water brings forest, but the opposite is more true, forest brings water.
It is so, there is substantial science today to show you that it is the tree cover which attracts rain. And right now, we see that wherever the rains happen in India, the monsoon is becoming so scattered, though the same volume of water is coming down in principle. In the last 100 years, there's not been too much variation in the amount of water or the precipitation coming down on the Indian subcontinent. But where it is coming down, in what patterns it is coming down has completely altered, mainly because of lack of green cover. And today there is no more debate about it, everybody knows that it's the forests which draw water or rain.
You have seen the rivers depleting, but then you set yourself the target. How can we mobilize people to be engaged with this? What was your thinking?
When we started this project GreenHands to plant trees, I made a simple process that because this is a spiritual movement, we had large following. Because this is a very eclectic group of people, non-religious spiritual movement, handling spiritual process as a science, as a technology for your well-being. So I started this movement, making people breathe with the trees and make them experientially see that what you exhale, the trees are inhaling, and what the trees are exhaling, you're inhaling. So literally 1/2 of your breathing apparatus are hanging out there on the trees. Once we made people experience this, now I can't stop them from planting trees. Everybody's just going wild wherever they can, they're planting trees and everybody wants to plant trees. So many movements, hundreds of movements have started across Tamil Nadu, many organizations. And when we set up a Guinness record of planting the maximum number of trees in a day, I saw such a healthy this thing happening that at least another 20 to 27 organizations desperately trying to break that record. I thought that's really great that such things began to happen. One thing I realized was, individually whatever we do, as organizations whatever we do, is not enough. We need a government policy, we need a long-term policy which will determine how we use our natural resources, particularly rivers and forests and soil. These three things, how this should be managed. So we are looking at how to make the soil and water, particularly rivers and forests, as a national treasure, not as something that everybody can use whichever way they want. When I traveled abroad, I was in the certain conferences, people came up to me and said, "Oh, you're that amazing tree planter." I said, "I'm not a tree planter." They said, "Why, you planted millions of trees, didn't you?" I said, "But I'm not a tree planter." So they asked me, "What do you do?" So I said, "I make people flower." If people flower within themselves, they clearly understand there is nothing here which is not connected to them. There is nothing in this planet or anywhere in the universe which is not connected to you. If you feel this connection, if this is not an idea in your mind, if this is a living reality for you, that you experience everything as a part of yourself, taking care of everything is just like taking care of your body. To whatever extent you can do, you do. So spiritual process and taking care of the world, taking care of the people, taking care of the animal or the plant are not different, because anybody who claims to be spiritual and becomes oblivious to what's around him, there is nothing spiritual about him, unless he's also oblivious to himself. Only that being who is oblivious to his own pain, who is oblivious to even his own existence, he can afford to be oblivious to everybody and everything. As long as you're conscious of your pain and your way of being, you have to be conscious of the way of everything that's happening around you. There's no other way to be. The idea that we need to protect this planet itself is a convoluted idea, because it is not because of us that the planet is there, it is because of the planet we are there. Even to think me and the planet is a completely wrong notion, because what you call as myself, the physical presence of who you are, is just an outcrop of this planet. Whatever you experience as a part of yourself with that, nobody has to tell you, please take care of this. Anyway, you will take care of it. The planet is for all of us and we cannot exist here by ourselves. Our existence here is not because of our economic activity. Right now, we are made to believe it is because of the percentages of growth that's happening in this country you will live well. No, we will live well here if everything is green, beautiful, water is flowing, air is pure, we will live well here. This idea has to go into every human being's mind, into every citizen's mind, into every child's mind. You must always be conscious of the life other than human life. Most people are not even conscious of the human beings, so I'm reminding you, you must be conscious of everything that is alive. A tree, a plant, a blade of grass, a grasshopper hopping, you must be alive to everything. Constantly the air around us is entering us and coming out of us, and this is the basis of our life. If we stop this process of breath for 1 minute, we understand that without transacting with the air around us, we cannot live for a moment. Similarly, on the level of water and on the level of earth, this transaction is going on. So how we keep the atmospheres around us, the water bodies around us, will determine the nature and the quality of our life.